welcome back to your Mission Prep podcast. I'm your host, Caleb.
And I'm Bruce. We're so excited today to have our special guest with us. Sophie, go ahead and introduce yourself and show yourself.
Hi, I am Sophie Lang, and I recently got back from my mission in the New Zealand Hamilton mission about a week and a half ago, and I'm super excited to be here.
Thank you for joining us, Sophie. So, Sophie, for those of us that know nothing about New Zealand, give us a little rundown. When you got there, what was the thing you had to adjust to the most? How similar is it? What are the kind of foods you had to go through?
Like they drove on the other side of the street, right? That was kind of funky.
Yes, getting there was, quite a few adjustments, a little bit of a culture shock just because it was so different from, the States. I would say, driving on the opposite side of the road, that was really weird. The seasons were completely opposite. So I got there in our springtime, but it was fall time there. And so that was really weird. Went from winter to winter, basically, which was kind of strange. And just the people, like the culture is super different, like the accents and just kind of the mannerisms and just how people do things, I guess, was a little bit of an adjustment.
Can you give us a sample?
A sample of the accent?
Like, say something in Maori or something.
Okay. He mihi naria homo te hahi o ikuraiti o te hunga tapu o ngā rā amurine. So that was me introducing myself as a missionary in Maori. So that was just saying I'm a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So
fantastic. It's a fun sounding language.
Yeah, it's a wild one. It's not super common, for sure.
I almost feel like I'm there when I was listening to your accent. We have one more kiwi left. I'm gonna go eat it after this. Could you share maybe a mission story or an experience with us? We all love a story. Tell us. Take us there.
Yeah. Okay. There's a lot of different things I could share, but I guess one of them was just like a few weeks ago. It was like a month ago, probably. So it was like the very, very end of my mission, last like 2 weeks or so. And this is when me and my companion were just, going about doing our work. And, we had a plan and then we decided to just, switch it up a little bit. And we decided to just knock some doors in the area that we were in. And we ended up finding this lady that was really, really needing us, I guess. She was really just searching for I guess proof that like God loves her and that God was aware of her. And it was just so cool. We ended up visiting with her for quite a while and got to know her. And it actually ended up being one of the most spiritual experiences of my life. We got to talk with her and she just like cried and we just like cried with her and just like talked. And then we just became friends like super fast. And turns out she was already a member of the church, but she had been away for like 30 plus years. And we were able to help her find her records and get her back to church. And so my very last Sunday before I came home, she was at church and she was with the members and she was so happy. And so that was a pretty neat experience, just seeing her go from the lowest of lows to the highest of highs. And that was because of the gospel, because of Jesus Christ. We were able to bring that light into her life, I guess, and just remind her that she's a precious child of God.
Wow, fantastic. Love to hear those stories about how the gospel changes people. Obviously, you hear all about the atonement of Jesus Christ and the change that the gospel can have, but to be able to see that firsthand is special, especially to hear about it. So, Sophie, we're wondering what principle from Preach My Gospel would you like to share with those about God?
I love that. So there are so many things in Preach My Gospel. Preach My Gospel is like the guide to full-time missionary service. So there's so many different things I could share, but one of my absolute favorite sections of the whole book is the section titled A Successful Missionary. And that's found on page 13 in chapter 1. And I just love it so much. The very first paragraph is my very favorite. And I'll just read that really quick. It just says, your success as a missionary is determined primarily by your desire and commitment to find, teach, baptize, and confirm converts, to help them become faithful disciples of Christ and members of his church. And then it references Alma 41:3. And so that's really good as well. But I think just the reason why I love that so much is because, a lot of missionaries tend to think that their success as a missionary is based on like how many baptisms they have, or if they hold a leadership position, or, if they have fun with their companion, whatever it may be. A lot of missionaries base their success and their worth as missionaries off of those things. And PMG reminds us that that's not what it should be based off of. I just like that it says that our success is determined primarily by our desire and commitment to fulfill our missionary purpose. And so I've learned that a lot in my mission. Specifically, this lady actually that I was just talking about, this lady that we were able to meet, we couldn't find her records for a little bit. And so we thought we were going to have to rebaptize her. And she wanted to be rebaptized as soon as she possibly could. And we were going to do that the weekend before I left. And I selfishly, I was kind of hoping we couldn't find her records just so we could have one more baptism with her, because that would be cool. But we ended up finding her records, which was awesome. And I just learned it doesn't matter if, I had one more baptism right before I left. The point is I helped someone come unto Christ. I brought joy to someone's life. Right. And I just think that, so many missionaries get really discouraged because maybe they don't have a lot of baptisms, or they never hold a leadership position or something like that. And I just love that PMG reminds us that if we have a desire and a commitment to bring others unto Christ to fulfill our missionary purpose, then we are a successful missionary.
That's fantastic. I totally agree with you. Now, there might be someone listening here thinking, well, I think I have a desire. And then they go out on their mission and things start to get hard. The language barrier, the culture, a little bit homesick. How do you maintain that or rediscover your desire while on your mission? Is that a real thing? Can you address that?
Yes. I would say definitely. There's so many times on your mission that there's gonna be ups and downs. It goes like that all the time, where you feel really discouraged and down, and then the next day you feel hyped and ready to go, and nothing can stop you. And then the next day you feel really discouraged and down again, and you can't do it. And I think that every missionary needs to know that it's okay to feel discouraged sometimes, right? That's just going to happen. The mission is hard. You're going to feel discouraged sometimes. But for me, I would say whenever I was feeling discouraged or just overwhelmed, especially at the beginning of my mission, when I was like, oh my gosh, this is so hard, and I'm not going to see my family for another 16 months or whatever it was. It was really easy to get discouraged. But the biggest thing that helped me was a quote that was given by President Gordon B. Hinckley when he was talking about his mission experience, and when he became very discouraged and was having a really hard time at the beginning of his mission. And that is when he wrote to his dad saying hey, I can't do this. I need to come home. I'm wasting your money, my time. I just can't do this. And his father wrote him back, and he just said, hey, I received your letter. I just have one suggestion, and that was forget yourself and go to work. And that quote specifically has helped me a lot on my mission. And it continues to help me, even now that I'm home. Just to, it's not always easy. We're not saying, oh, just forget about yourself. Don't take care of yourself. Don't, think about yourself at all. But just forget yourself and go to work, trying to focus more on other people. And specifically when you feel homesick, I would say just trying to focus on other people really does help a lot. It helped me a lot just to try to forget about myself and my own insecurities and worries and just look outward toward others and try to help other people as much as I could.
I love that so much. It reminds me of that quote by C.S. Lewis about humility. Humility isn't thinking less of yourself, it's thinking less about yourself. And the more that we go forward in the service of others, in the service of God, the more that we're going to be focusing on others. Like the less you're going to be thinking about back home, or I can't do this. You're going to be thinking about, okay, there's that person there. Maybe I can help anyone. It's going to make the work more manageable. I think.
I love that. I wanted to share a quick experience, a story I've heard about an elder who lost his mom, and the burial took place while he was in the NPC, and he didn't get a chance to go. And so he was somewhat discouraged, and the mission president was worried and wanted to make sure he was okay. And this was way back. And so, next transfer zone conference, he saw this elder and wanted to follow up to make sure he's okay. Elder, are you doing okay now? Like, yeah, I'm great. I'm doing great. And his mission president said, so what changed? I know you were a little discouraged coming out here. He goes, well, I got a letter from President Gordon Hinckley. And he told me to take a day to mourn and to grieve, and then to pick yourself up and go to work. And the reason why President Hinckley was discouraged and why his dad wrote him that letter was because President Hinckley's mom died. Same thing happened to this elder. So he had a chance. So now President Hinckley, knowing what he's experiencing because he himself went through it, allowed this elder to take a day to grieve and then pick yourself up and go to work. And I think two things. Number one is when we do focus on others, then our worry and our stress seem to be minimized. That's research. That's not only truth, but it's research. And number two is when you experience something, then you are better at helping strengthen others going through the same thing because you've gone. So thank you for sharing that.
So Sophie, I'm wondering, with all of your wisdom that you bring here today,
Lots.
what would you say to maybe a missionary about halfway through their mission, and they know this, right? But they are struggling to see the value in their efforts if they're not seeing progress with their efforts, right? Say this missionary is going out and they're putting their best foot forward, they're trying their best, and they feel like their efforts have just kind of been the same or even gone down since the beginning of their mission.
And maybe you're not producing like outward results. He's on a mission, they measure by other outward results, and then maybe he or she is working so hard, but then you can't really see it. What would you say to them?
I love that question. I've asked myself that a lot of times, like for myself and for other missionaries. A chapter in the Book of Mormon that just came to mind was Alma chapter 26. Now, people may know a lot about this chapter already, but this is one of my favorite chapters in the whole Book of Mormon. And this is because, it's about the prophet Ammon that is basically feeling an indescribable amount of joy because of Jesus Christ. And for me, in my mission, I definitely, had moments where I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm doing enough, or I really am not seeing as much results as I would like. And my first thought was just always trying to keep in mind that no matter how much success you see or don't see, doesn't change the fact that this is the most important work happening on earth, right? And I would say that, there are probably a lot of different, interactions and things that happen on my mission that had an impact that I will never even know about, And so I would say, even though even though there's moments where you can't see a lot of success, doesn't mean that it's not there, you know, and that's easier. That's easier to just say that rather than to actually believe it. But I would say that no matter how many successes you're seeing, the Lord is proud of you for your efforts. There's a verse specifically in Alma chapter 26, and this is when Ammon and his brethren are receiving comfort from the Lord. And it just says, "Now when our hearts were depressed and we were about to turn back, behold, the Lord comforted us and said, Go amongst thy brethren the Lamanites, and bear with patience thine afflictions, and I will give unto you success." And I just love that. I just find that verse has brought a lot of comfort to me specifically, even though he was speaking to Ammon and his brethren, that's the Lord speaking to you as well, to each missionary, because, you know, missionary work is not easy. It's going to be hard. There's going to be moments that are discouraging, but, you know, even when you can't see it, and even if there isn't a lot of success, the Lord is proud of you, and he sees your efforts, and your efforts are making a difference, even when it's hard to see.
Thank you so much, Sophie.
That was a powerful testimony that you just shared. We really appreciate that.
So we're wondering if you could very, very briefly give us your testimony to end off here today.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'll bear my testimony, I guess, in Maori. Is I learned a little bit of that on my mission, and I can close off. Whakpono ana hoki o karaiti, ko ia te kaha o takoharo rarore, ko pāmai te tumane ko I te wā o te kouratake. I kiti o te nama I te pori, ki one e ora ana ia, ka ora ana a karaiti. E ora ana a Braden, nā te me, e ora ana ia, ka ora ana o tātou. A mohia hana o kanawatahi ngā whana moake. E arahana, e araha, e ana au, ki taku kai whakaroa a ihu karaiti. Ko ia taku tua hangata, taku kaitunaki taku hoa. O taku whakataki e puno te hahi murumuna o te nima pai tine. A aku tātou ana puna. Nāku te wangia e ora ana ia. I testify that Christ lives. This really is the Lord's work. It's the most important work happening on earth. And the most real things in the world can't be seen, yet they're so, so real. And Jesus Christ is real. I know that to be true. And I say that in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sophie, for your testimony and your time. And thank you for everybody else for joining in this week. And make sure to come back next week for a new episode.
Please share this with your friends and those that are thinking about a mission or planning on going out. It's very valuable. Thank you. We'll see you next time. Bye.